welcome to this week's episode of Eye of the Swarm, your deep dive into anything and everything related to Yellowjacket athletics. He's the big sound Matt Johnson. I am John Garver, season number 6, episode number 3.
How many are we up to now overall? Is that got to be almost 90 now?
I have no
I
idea.
did the count during the summer, and I can't remember what it was.
Yeah, I've never even
It was
done
upper
the count.
80s.
I haven't even done the count, so,
Okay.
you know.
I know we should get to triple digits this year. If
Most
all
likely,
goes-
if
yeah.
everything goes well.
If everything goes according to plan, and hopefully it does.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully. But yeah, we're approaching our 100th episode here. It's not going to be any time in the next imminent time or anything, but
sometime during this year.
yeah, sometime during this year we should get to 100, which is kind of crazy when we started this out. I never thought that we would.
No, I mean, this was just kind of a
Yeah.
harebrained idea. Hey, let's try this.
Yeah, exactly.
And
see if it sticks, and it stuck. So,
yeah, it's stuck and,
Yeah.
has advanced from being just a completely audio cast to
Yep, to where
everybody
we are right
watching us here today.
Yep,
So
exactly.
Here we are.
Here we are. So, anywho,
what do you got?
what do I got? Well, it's been kind of a crazy time up on campus here. This is a kind of an interesting podcast to be doing because this is the first time where we can actually kind of get excited now about the brand new stadium opening up in about 2 days.
Because by the time people are watching this or
Yeah.
listening to this,
Yep, the stadium will have been officially
it will
opened.
have been christened.
Yep. The official cutting of the ribbon is tomorrow. The ceremony at 4:30 p.m. This is Thursday, by the way. This is Thursday, the 10th. The ribbon cutting ceremony is tomorrow, the 11th, and then the first 2 official NCAA sanctioned events will take place with yours truly on the call for Yellowjacket TV and 91.3 FM on Saturday, the 12th. A lot of festivities there. You can go to the athletics webpage to find out more about that. Obviously, they're not going to see this, but most people, I think, know that already. But yeah.
You hope.
Yeah, you would hope.
You would hope.
There's a full press release.
I
and
feel like
everything.
we've put stuff out
yeah,
well enough in advance where
where people were. But
people have an idea.
I drove by today. It looks fantastic. It looks really nice. I know the video board is a bit of a source of stress for you at the moment.
It
trying to
is,
figure that thing out.
but it's the whole thing in general, Matt.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
There's a lot that goes in opening stadiums.
It's still going to be a construction zone.
Yep.
When they cut the ribbon, it's still going to be a construction zone when the games are going on.
Yeah.
There will be construction vehicles there.
Yeah.
There are going to be fences and cones and warning signs and
I'll tell you
all
what-
kinds of things. And, the game ends on Saturday. Monday morning, the workers will be back out there doing more construction. So it's
It's not done yet completely.
it's definitely not done. It's not going to be done until next year. We all know that, but it's
almost done.
it's a really cool thing. It's an
Yeah.
exciting time, but it's
It's
also
playable.
it's stressful.
Yeah,
It's
it's
stressful
stressful time.
because we still don't know how everything is going to work.
Right, yeah. And I know that you have a lot of jobs on your plate for that day. You'll be in the press box next to me doing all kinds of this stuff with the video board and with the scoreboard.
Scoreboard
So
and-
I'll be broadcasting, doing what I normally do for Yellowjacket soccer games. But I'm looking forward to it.
Are you going to come early and be part of the Synovus Energy fan zone?
I'm going to try to get here as early as I can. And here's the reason.
Parking.
Yes. I've been telling everybody in the athletic department pretty much since I got here this afternoon that I'm pretty much going to roll out of bed on Saturday, print out my game notes, and come straight here. Because to be honest with you, the biggest worry I had going into this weekend was the parking situation because I wasn't sure they were going to have the lot done. It was still dirt as of last week, wasn't it? I mean, they just recently poured the tar for it.
Yeah,
didn't
they tarred it earlier this week, but I'm not sure how available that's even going to be.
Yeah, so I'm
'Cause
making
you
sure.
Are probably still going to have some construction vehicles there and everything, so I'm not even sure that lot is an
Exactly.
option.
So I'm going to be here bright and early, even if I'm here 5 hours before kickoff. I'm going to be here very early.
I can promise you I will be here 5 hours before kickoff.
Yeah, so I'm going to, after the volleyball match on Friday night that I have over at Mertz, I'm going to head home. I'm going to get a good night's sleep. I'm going to get back up. I'm going to print out my game notes and come straight here.
You know what you should do is just leave your car here. Have somebody give you a ride home.
I should, yeah.
Uber back over on Saturday.
That
and
would
then
be
you
the
don't-
smart
And then
thing.
you don't have to fight parking.
That's true.
You might get a ticket for parking overnight, but,
I've had that happen before.
small price to pay.
Good plan. Good
Small
plan.
price to pay for
Yeah,
convenience.
exactly. But anyway, long story short, that's the big event for the weekend. Obviously, that's the headline coming up this weekend. Volleyball will also be at home. We'll talk more about all these teams, how they are doing currently here. As we go into it, cross country is off this weekend, so that's kind of neat. Men's tennis, though, they've got 3 matches coming up this weekend, all of them away. So, and men's and women's golf are done for the year. So, they're starting to slow down a little bit in terms of the teams, but with all this extra stuff
it is,
going
but it's
on.
not, Matt.
Yeah, I mean, like the fall isn't done until the fall is done. That's
Right.
the way I look at it. And fall is our
That was
busiest
very Yogi Berra-esque right there. The fall's not done till it's done.
Well, I mean, because obviously we transition into winter because some of the winter teams are already started their practices.
Yes, they have.
In fact, I think all of them have. So
They officially can all start next week.
okay, but they're all doing like captain's practices and stuff
Yep.
like that right now. But yeah, I mean, we're making. Hopefully, it'll be a smooth transition in. We're still trying to figure out everything with the stadium, of course, as far as like everything that goes into opening a stadium. I mean, there's a lot that goes into that. But
I've never done it before.
yeah, I mean, this is all
This
brand
is the
new
first time
territory.
I've ever had to.
Yeah,
you
this
know,
is all brand new
have
territory.
a punch list for a facility that I'm actually part of the Open. So
Yeah. I feel excited about it. Like I said, this is the first time I'll ever broadcast a game from a brand new venue, too. So this is going to be pretty neat for me. And hopefully we'll have a couple good games. Can play Minnesota Morris that day, by the way. They'll have a bunch more home games, by the way, at the Superior Choice Credit Union Stadium in the next couple weeks. I was looking ahead.
It's a pretty home-heavy schedule here. And
they've been on the road for a while. Both teams have been on the road
They
for a
have.
while. So they're going to both be back, and I think they're both looking forward to getting home. We'll talk about the men first here. They're 8-2-2 now, 7-0.
7 straight wins.
Yeah, 7 straight wins. Pitching a shutout right now in the UMAC.
Yeah.
40 goals for, 0 against in 7 games.
Mm-hmm.
And right now they are 4th in the country in scoring.
Yep.
Goal scoring. And they've got 47 goals so far through their first 12 games.
The Northland game last week kind of helped that along.
Yeah, it did. It did. Northland got a result this weekend.
Mm-hmm.
They tied Northwestern, so congratulations to them.
Congratulations to them.
Yeah, that's anytime Northland does anything, I'm going to be very happy for them.
And let's be honest. I mean, that was a program that had one returning player, I think.
Yeah.
You know, coming into this year, so
Good for them.
you know, props to their staff and
Yeah.
you know to those student
Yeah,
athletes.
shout
too.
out to them, our neighbors 70 miles to the east. But, men's soccer, like I said, they're pitching a shutout in UMAC conference action. Got a nice win against Crown the other day. Crown's having a kind of a breakout year for them.
Mm-hmm.
And UWS wins at 3-0. And looked good doing so.
Yeah.
I'd say they were pretty much in control of that one from the start. Crown's got some offensive players this year. They've got one guy that scored, I think, 17 goals this year. 17 of their 28.
So you're saying the offense runs through him?
Yeah, pretty much.
Got it.
Pretty much. But the Jackets pitching another shutout. And Alex Paredes got the shutout in goal in that one. But the Jackets haven't given up a goal. I'm going to have to go back and look now.
It's been a while.
Yeah, it's been 300 and... Oh, it's been more than that. We're going on almost 700 minutes now without giving up a goal.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it's a long stretch. That's got to be close to a school record, I would think. If not, I mean, right at the top of the head. I'm not asking.
Yeah, off the top of the head, I couldn't.
Yeah.
I have no idea.
But 47 goals for the Jackets, 7 against all year, and 8-2-2. They do have a tough game the following day after playing Morris to open up the stadium. By the way, they're the first team they'll play officially the first game.
Right.
1 and 3:30. The women will play the Cougars, Minnesota Morris at 3:30. Then they hit the road to take on the MIAC leading and undefeated Gustavus Adolphus Gusties on Sunday down in St. Peter's. So it's going to be a quick turnaround and a big game.
Very quick.
Yeah, 2 teams that are riding right along. And that'll be interesting because Gustavus is a very different looking animal in terms of how they play. They're not super offensive. They play a very tight game. They keep their structure defensively. I watched them actually play Bethany Lutheran earlier in the year. And it was tight. Gustavus is not a team that is going to blow you out 3-4, 5-0. They're a team that's
They'll take
they'll take a 1-0, 2-1 kind of game, and that's why I think it'll probably be on Sunday. So it should be a fun one. Women's soccer at 7-6 overall now, still tied for first place in the UMAC. Played a really entertaining game last night against McAllister. First half didn't go very well. They were a little flat. Second half they played one of their best halves of the year. Really took the game to the Scots in that second half. Had 1 shot on goal in the first 45 minutes, and had 7 on goal in the second half, and really played well and had a chance to actually come back and tie that game. They got a goal late from Nia Wilson, and then they made another push over the next couple minutes to try to get one more good look at goal. Just couldn't quite get it, but it was a good game against the Scots, and that's 2 straight years now they played McAllister tough. Ended up losing 2-1, but I don't think anybody was particularly depressed about how they played.
Right.
I mean, the first half wasn't great, but the second half they were really, really good. So hopefully they can carry that over into Saturday. Like the women are 5-1, by the way, in the UMAC. Men are 7-0. We talked about that. Both teams in first place, so can't complain there. Volleyball in a good spot as well. 14-6 overall now. 4-1 in the league. Tied for second right now with Minnesota Morris, but they have the tiebreaker. Yep, because they beat Morris on straight sets a couple weeks ago now. But McKenna Holbein had a huge weekend.
Huge.
Yeah, she was really, really good. The freshman out of Holdingford, Minnesota. 35 combined kills against North Central and Northwestern. 21 of them against North Central. reigning UMAC Offensive Player of the Week. Mm-hmm. She hit I want to say like 435 for the week or something like that.
That's crazy. And she's now, I think, 8 matches this year.
Yeah.
Double-digit kills and digs.
Yep. And
so
she's become
it's
option
not
number
strictly
one.
an offensive
No.
player there. She had
a double against North
sides.
Central. Yep. And she's had several games where she's had double-digit digs. So she does it on both ends, so that's good to see. So, yeah, they're sitting pretty good. They have Bethany Lutheran on Friday and Martin Luther on Saturday. That's right. Sorry, my bad.
I wish it was Sunday. That'd make our lives a lot
Yeah,
easier.
exactly.
This whole stadium opening thing.
Right, yeah. So they're at home for 2. Men and women are at home as well this weekend. Cross country, Idle this weekend. Up next for them is Augustana, the interregional, down in Rock Island. That's actually a Rock Island, Illinois, by the way. That's actually a meet that they go to, I think, pretty much every year. Yeah, and there's a million teams that
massive,
go to it.
and we'll have Glenn on here in the next segment so we can
so you can
ask
expand
him
on
a little bit about that because
they run it just about every year.
They do.
Yeah,
they go down there every year, and he's got a few meets that he always goes there. He always goes to St. Olaf. So just curious what he the kind of things that make him want to go to those things every year.
Exactly. So
I wish he'd go to the running of the cows every year just because I like the name running of the cows.
That was I know I saw that it was actually run I think the week following the St. Olaf Invitational is usually when Carlton runs it. But it's just a great name to
it is. It's fantastic.
The cows is fantastic. And then men's and women's golf. Men finished second, which I'm not quite sure they were expecting. But North Central and them were going neck and neck. And actually
the entire weekend.
Yeah, and North Central was right there with them last year, too, when they won. So those two teams have been going back and forth the last couple of years. Women placed third.
Yep.
So not bad.
No.
I think probably, the men are probably a little disappointed that they weren't able to win the UMAC again, but not a bad year. I mean, you finished second. That's not bad.
No.
So, got that going on. Men's tennis has 3 matches away, all of them in the southern part of Wisconsin. They'll be taking on UW La Crosse and UW Stevens Point. Not in that order, by the way. It'll be Point first and then La Crosse. La Crosse is hosting.
Yep.
And then they will play Ripon on Sunday before they make the trek back north. Men are 0-1. They lost to Carleton in non-conference action, I think, what was that, last week?
Last Saturday.
Yep. Okay.
I had to think for a second.
Yeah, we were trying to figure that out. And women's tennis is off until their actual spring season starts up.
Right.
So that's everything that happened last week. A couple of teams that we expected to do well are doing well. Actually, 3 teams, I would say. Volleyball was expected to do pretty well this year, too, and they're right there. So all in all, not really too many complaints. Just I think everybody's looking forward to the stadium opening up because I know that men's and women's outdoor track and field, another one of our next guests' teams are running the alumni meet, I think.
Yeah, they're having an alumni meet on Saturday morning.
Yeah, on Saturday morning, just to kind of break in the stadium just a little bit more.
A little bit.
Yeah, it's an exciting time, and it's weird because, like you said, you and I have never done this before.
Nope.
Like we've never opened up a stadium before. UWS hasn't opened up a new athletic venue in
20 years.
20 years. So this is brand new territory for all of us. Expecting a big crowd. Hopefully people get there bright and early because
they're early and go to the fan zone.
Yeah, go to the fan zone.
Bring the kids. Everything there is free.
Yeah, I plan on walking around and checking it out.
There, and there's going to be some booths and food trucks. And
are you going to be there? Are you going to go to the fan zone beforehand?
I'm going to be around there somewhere.
I'm sure Teddy and Allison will be there. So yeah.
I know they will be here as well. Yeah.
Yeah. So I expect that most of the athletics department folks will be there, their kids, and also community members. So. Yeah, it's going to be a very festive atmosphere up here on Saturday.
Let's hope. Going back to golf real quick, not necessarily done.
Okay.
They don't have to prep for an NCAA tournament appearance this year, but come spring, I'm sure they are going to have.
Yeah, I was thinking about that.
They're going to schedule some meets there and make sure they get those athletes out and competing again.
Yeah, I think Coach Everhart will not be pleased that they didn't win it again. I mean,
right.
He expects to win it every year, and I think the guys on the team have kind of established that's what their expectation is. They didn't win it this year, so I expect that they will have some spring events that we'll talk about. Certainly, I'm sure he's talked to his guys about the needs for improvement,
right,
and what we need to do to get back to the NCAA. So, but yeah, I would think that they'll be back in there, and maybe even the women might get a couple of events in there too at the same time. So. But off until spring now for both.
It's crazy how quickly that season goes.
Oh, it's
school's been in session for a month, and their season has come and gone.
Yeah, exactly.
And also tip of the cap to Connor Willard because he was the UMAC medalist, winning the
congratulations to him
by a stroke.
He's been very consistent. Nate Burke was also very consistent this year. Andrew Rude, those 3 were all up there pretty much all year long. So congratulations to him. And Jackets just came just a little bit short. So now they got something to shoot for next year.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. With that, we're going to take a time out. When we come back, we will sit down and talk cross country and track and field, and definitely some stadium things. And as we have head coach Glen Drexler from the Yellowjacket cross country and track and field teams, as well as Zach Reese coming in to join us. So we'll have that coming up next. This is Eye of the Swarm.
Find your passion. Find your people. Find your purpose. Find your superior.
We're back on the roundtable segment of this edition of Eye of the Swarm, and it's time for us to head, I guess, outdoors onto the course, and not the golf course this time, but of course the cross country course. So it's like Mr. Red's theme song right there. How many times can they get the word course
for
in
you.
there?
I was waiting for it. Horse is a horse, of course. And
Please tell me you got that one, so we can. That's got to be included on the.
Yeah, that
when
one.
we cut that one up, that's pretty good. Thanks for doing that.
Oh, I was like,
At any rate,
yeah,
to the cross country course we go. Head coach Glen Drexler and Zach Reese are kind enough to join us here this week. And before we talk cross country, we dedicated a significant portion of the opening segment to this little construction project that is going on outside. So let's talk a little bit about that before we jump into cross country season, because you have a home now, and that's a long time coming. So let's talk a little bit about that, and,
Sure.
and what that means for the program, what that means as an athlete, and knowing you're going to have somewhere where you can host a meet or you can train without having to worry about stepping in a chasm that has developed in the middle of your track. So talk a little bit about what's going on out there.
Yeah. Well, first of all, thanks for having us. We're very excited to have this new facility opening up very soon, and I'll always say it, and I like people to hear this, that we've been blessed. We've as a track cross country program, we've always had everything we've needed, and again, that's a big deal. We've had an outdoor track, we've been an indoor track. Now, it hasn't always been what we wanted, and that outdoor track has needed some love for quite a while now. So the fact that we have this new one coming is good, but the reason we needed to have this new one built was so we can move on with everything else, the baseball fields, the softball fields, and soccer getting a home too. So, for me, it's I don't want it to sound cliche, but it's big picture stuff that we really, we're blessed, of course, to have this new home, and we're going to enjoy this thoroughly. But the excitement of seeing everybody else have those opportunities as well is really going to be good for all of us. So it like I said, big picture stuff. But yes, for us, man, it's going to be sweet. It's going to be really sweet.
And you've been a regular visitor out there, multiple trips daily to watch the process and everything.
No doubt.
When did it actually smack you upside the head that, boy, this is going to happen?
Yeah, almost weekly, just seeing the progress. Like when they first came out there and cleaned out, got the cars out of the parking lot, and I'm like, okay. And seeing them doing some core drilling, oh, this is cool. Seeing them take out everything that was there. Oh, now we're moving, all of a sudden seeing an oval being shaped. I mean, no, it's like taking form right in front of you. So all of those, like I said, almost weekly, you were seeing something big happening. And it just became more real, like I said, weekly. And to this point, we're getting to the point where daily something different looks, and something new is popping out there. So it's really, it's been just exciting to see the process happening. The other thing I say about this is that there are a few coaches who get an opportunity in a lifetime to see a new facility being built or be a part of it. The fact that I've got to see this one finished on the inside, in the indoor facility, I got to see it kind of come to its completion as I was coming in. But now to be a part of the full construction from start to finish on this outdoor is just a really unique and really special opportunity that, I'll always remember. Because, that, like I said, not many people get to do that. So.
Right.
And I'll not get to do another one again. So I'm just really soaking every little bit of it. So those daily trips are a lot, just to be able to soak it in and enjoy it. get to know how it's done. I mean, there's some stuff that you wouldn't expect. Like, that's how they do that? Yep, that's how they do that.
That was a big eye-opener for me, watching them
Yeah.
create the track.
Yeah.
You know, and watching them when they're doing it the same way you would seal your driveway at home. You know, by just the buckets, dump it, take the squeegee out and spread it all out. And I'm like, wow, that's I should have done that in my driveway this summer, but I didn't. And that's how they're doing it out there. And then putting the paint down, and then just literally shovels full of the pellets that they put out, and suddenly there's a track.
Yeah.
It's I had no idea that's how it was done.
Yeah, it you know, really manual, labor intensive. And those guys from Bynum have just been awesome watching them do their thing, and they're really good at what they do. So we're really excited to see what if it all finished, you know, in the next shortly, I will say.
How about for the athlete? What has this been like? Because when you left in the spring, parking lot, overgrown practice facility, you come back and stadium.
Right.
So what has that been like for the athlete?
It's been really cool to see it like kind of come into fruition over just like the years I've been here. So like freshman year, that's when we first started talking about getting the track. And it's something I've been waiting for and excitement for. I never had a track in high school. I had a dirt track. So this is my first time actually going to be like having a home, like for real this time. And to kind of be a part of its creation is also something super unique. So yeah, I'm just really excited to, you know, finally have a spot where, you know, we can call our home, and I'll always be able to come back and, you know, this is my track.
You're part
now.
of that.
Yeah, right.
That's really cool.
Well, we haven't had an outdoor, like an actual, you know, functional outdoor track that could host a meet in a while. You know, like this has been something that's been in for a long time. I mean, like Glenn said, I mean, this has been in the works for, God, I don't know how many years, you know, before this started coming together. But it just opens up so many more opportunities for the university, I think, just for hosting events. On top of everything else. When we talked about men's and women's soccer, obviously having home games there. But it opens up a whole new avenue for you guys, too.
100%.
Because now you guys can host, you know, UMAC Outdoor Track and Field Championships. You can host one or two, you know, meets per year now on the outdoor track. And I think, correct me if I'm wrong here, but are you guys the only school that has both now?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So, I mean, that's another thing. So now you can train indoor. You can also train outdoor. I mean, you know, it gives you guys an extra, you know, bit of facility, you know, usage that you haven't had before necessarily in terms of being able to, you know, we can work on some stuff that's unique to the indoor season. We can work on some stuff that's unique to the outdoor season if we have to, and we don't have to go off campus to do it.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, and I'll go far to do it. We can just walk right outside the MWC and do it. Yeah. So that's got to be nice. I mean, that's got to be a comfort as well.
Yeah, no, it's definitely really nice. Like to know that, like we kind of just get something brand new and it's right out our door. It's something like I never thought I would even see coming here. So that's really cool.
Yeah, yeah.
What does the schedule look like then for you? I mean, we're jumping in next spring, or are we going to give this a year before? Because I know, like, coaches, you have your meets you like to go to, and that'll segue nice into cross country, but you have your meets you like to go to. Other coaches are the same way. They have specific events they want to go to. Is it kind of hard to crack that?
I mean, yeah, a little bit. You know, and here's the thing, too, is that we've had a very great relationship with the other teams in town between Scholastica and UMD, and being able to host, whether they're indoor or outdoor. And UMD's done a great job of being able to host some of those outdoor meets. And so it'll be a lot of discussions with them, you know, to kind of find out what works for everybody, because almost we can't have a home meet without our neighbors, you know. Yep. So we want to make sure we're taking care of them too. So yeah, it'll be a discussion for sure, and we'll have to figure all those things out. But I'm sure we'll all come to a consensus on what we all want and make it happen. But obviously conference will be something that will want to happen. The timeline is the question, and I'd say we've got a few things to take care of yet before we're ready to fully lock in for a home event from a track standpoint. So I'm not so sure we'll be able to do it yet this spring, but I've been proved wrong before, so we'll see. I might be overridden, and somebody might say that, yeah, we're going to do it.
You're doing it.
Yep. Which is, you know, hey, if that's what it comes to, we'll make it happen. We've got great people between our you know, game staff, all those things, and our own coaching staffs that we can put on a good meet if we have to, even though it'll be our first one in 17, 18 years.
I was going to ask if you knew the date of the last time we hosted.
I'd have to look back. It would be pretty hard for me to find out, honestly. The last conference meet, I think, was 99.
It was 99 or 2000 because I did PA for it.
Okay.
It was 2000. Excuse me. It was 2000.
And it was so windy.
Yeah.
It was so windy that day. And those other WIAC schools
Well,
we're up here just going, you got to be kidding me. I got to sprint in this?
as a 2-day meet, though, the first day was good.
Yes.
And then day 2,
Cold.
Things shifted drastically, and everybody, went from loving us to wondering whether we were sane or not. But yeah, that was how it goes. But we're looking forward to being able to host in the near future for sure.
You had a chance to see the video board yesterday?
Yes, it's fantastic. Walked out there yesterday, and the American flag was flapping in the wind on the screen, and yeah, that was pretty cool.
Yeah, it's a cool amenity, and
I think that's the part that I'm looking forward to the most is just seeing what the video board looks like. I mean, the scoreboard is going to be sharp. I mean, we already talked about that, and then Synovus Energy when they came in and wanted to add a video board. I mean, I think that kind of ups the ante a little bit, but it's also a very cool little feature to have, on the stadium, and I think everybody will get kind of a kick out of it because there's so many things you can do with it, in terms of graphics and stuff like that.
The hard part is it's going to be hard to harness the capabilities of that board diving into the pool midway through a year.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we took some training this week, and we've been able to play around with it a little bit, but we're going to be going into these games this weekend still not knowing exactly how that whole thing works and what it can do. So
I think it's a process, because one of the things that I've learned, because UMD has video boards and I've been broadcasting for them for years too, is that the video board and the scoreboard are not connected. So the scoreboard will always be, or should always be, its own thing. The video board is something that you need extra people to work on it in order to make it work correctly. And so it's one of those...
You mean you don't just plug it in, turn it on, and
all
that
stuff
is already in there?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, but there's a lot of different things that you can do with the video board, which is cool. And I'm anticipating that it'll probably be like we did with Yellowjacket TV, like we're doing Yellowjacket TV, which is, start kind of basic and then build up once we get a good foundation as to, okay, we know we can do this and do this and do this, and then move on from there. Because that's how UMD did it.
Right.
When they brought in theirs, it's just like, let's just do something we can repeat, and then repeat that, make sure we got that down before we start trying to build on other things. And that's sort of the way you got to do it. I mean, there's no really any other way to do it. Because I think some people think that the video board and the scoreboard are connected. They're not. They're separate programs. So even if something happened with the video board, the scoreboard will always be there. But I'm looking forward to seeing what it looks like because I've had a chance to see UMDs. I've had a chance to see some of the other ones. And I think there aren't too many D3 schools that have video boards. So I don't know how many others do, John. Maybe you know that, but
I don't.
Okay.
To be honest, I have no idea. I know within our conference, we're probably
the only one,
I would guess.
Yeah.
Maybe like Bethany Lutheran baseball, I think, where they have one.
Okay.
But
I don't think it's their...
By and large, I think we might be the only one. I know some of the UW schools do.
Okay.
I know
so Whitewater has
Whitewater has
one
one for football. They have one in their gym. I think a lot of those schools have them on their football stadiums now.
Okay.
But
I know Point doesn't have one in their gym because I've been in it.
But they have a big one at their
stadium. Football stadium. Okay. So it depends on, I guess it depends on the venue and the school, but
right.
They're not mainstream in Division III, I don't think.
No.
I don't think the video board thing. So it's kind of groundbreaking
kind of cool.
in a way for us.
It's kind of cool.
Yeah. So, yeah, we've been talking a lot about the stadium. But it's not every day again. This has been such a long-term project, and I know that it's been...
Well, it's 7 years from the time you had your first discussion about maybe we should take this seriously and build a facility to actually getting in the facility. It's a 7-year plan. It takes a while.
Yeah, it takes a long time. And you have to go through a lot of different hoops to get it done. Glen's been here from the start, from the planning to the execution to now, starting on Saturday when we're going to have an open. And for Zach, for a guy who's never had a home track, this is...
Yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah, I mean, this is a big deal.
Yeah.
And I would imagine, Glenn, that your athletes are looking forward to actually testing out the track and running on it.
Yeah. We haven't been able to really get out there yet, so they're itching. But yeah, we're gonna get our opportunity soon. So.
Very cool.
Let's talk a little bit now, because the stadium obviously is a ways off here for their season, but we're smack dab in the middle of cross country season here. So let's talk a little bit about a couple events in, a couple weeks to go here before conference championships. Where do you stand? What do you like? What do you have to work on? Let's talk a little bit about your two teams.
Yeah, well, we'll start with the men's. Just in general, we're watching our young runners develop and our freshmen really kind of figure out what running distance is, and that's part of the process. It's getting to run. Like for our first race, we ran a 5K.
And that's not normal, is it?
Well, I try to push it if I can.
Okay.
Because I would rather they run a shorter distance race so they build some confidence. Like, yeah, I can do this. And all of a sudden it's like, yeah, I'm running college cross country versus running high school. There's a little bit of terror, when they get there. Like, I'm not sure if I'm cut off. But when they see that, like, yeah, this is fine. Then moving into the full distance 2 weeks later, then we're starting to get into, okay, now we're introduced to it. 2 weeks after that, now all of a sudden we understand what that race is. 2 weeks after that, now we're actually racing. So it's just a continual build. And we see all of our freshmen kind of figure out the process as they go along. And we're training them how to run those things, of course. But until they actually do it, they're a little terrified. So, yeah, we're watching some really nice progress right now. What's interesting about our current group, our top 2, 3, 4 guys maybe are kind of locked in as far as where they're at. Even they can shuffle from 1 to 3, whatever it might be. But what's great about the rest of them, from almost 4 to 5 on down, any one of those guys could jump into 4, 5, 6, 7, spots. So if somebody isn't there, somebody else is coming up. And it's really kind of cool to watch our young guys kind of really pop up and step up and do what they've got to do. So we've got a really good bunch of guys that are running well together.
Yeah.
Good culture right now, and things are awesome. Yeah.
I think this is definitely one of our best freshman classes that I've seen and been a part of. Like, they're really involved, and they're really dedicated to learning. Like, I get a lot of questions. Like, in the locker room every day, I walk in and they ask me something that I didn't even think of, to tell them. So it's kind of cool to experience their growth as well throughout this. And yeah, like Glenn said, our culture this year has been phenomenal. Like, there's a different team dynamic this year that I've never felt before, especially on our guys' side. Everyone's really close. It's like a family, like we're all brothers and sisters, because we do get to be so close with the girls' team as well.
Right.
So yeah, it's been a really fun dynamic this year, and I think it's made it easier for a lot of people to come to practice every day. And I'm excited to come to practice every day. There's nothing. It's just only excitement and kind of fun.
That kind of the family thing is something you stress too. That's part of the. Yeah. One of the pillars of your preseason retreat and the famous meal that you have with your athletes every year. That's a big piece of it, is the family piece, right?
Yeah,
and to see that come to fruition must be really gratifying.
For sure. It's something we work at every year, but I think we really put a lot of emphasis on what that really kind of means and how we're going to go about it on a daily basis. We've really put a lot of emphasis on the how, the whys, and how we can, apply that on a daily basis. And it's been good. It's been really good. And we're never perfect. Nobody's ever perfect. But man, we're really deliberate about how we're going about who we are this year, which has been pretty awesome. And like I said, I think our freshmen are learning how to be leaders earlier now. We're being very deliberate about that as well, making sure that we're giving them the explanation of how and why they've got to be able to do what they've got to do instead of relying entirely on our seniors. We're making everybody kind of being aware that you're next and you're going to be ready for this, which allows us to basically just get the next group right into that leadership role. So, it's been a good role. The running part, honestly, sometimes is easy. It's the team building stuff that's hard, the culture stuff that can be hard and painful at times. But ultimately, like I said, these guys have been really good with everything we've tried to throw at them, and they've responded well. So.
Yeah.
Kind of nice too, I guess, because you have a good older group, so those freshmen kind of get to pressure-free environment to be able to kind of develop into some of that?
Yeah, I mean that's the hope, right? Is that they can see what's expected of them through those upperclassmen, you know, and we'll try to continue to challenge everybody throughout. But yeah, those freshmen can kind of come in, like I said, by kind of explaining to them some of the tools and some of the processes that we will be using as freshmen. It's not on their shoulders, but they've got the understanding and a knowledge of it, which, man, like I said, if we have to teach in their senior year, it's too late.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
so, you know, this all seems obvious at times, but sometimes we kind of fade away from that. We forget that we got to start this stuff earlier. So
Sure.
we're, like I said, now we're very certain that we got to take care of these freshmen so they understand what's expected of them. You know, accountability has been a word we've used this year pretty heavily, making sure that everybody understands what that means and what that means to them individually and to the team. So we've been pushing them hard in that way too. It's pretty cool. It's pretty good stuff.
It's been a very deep team in recent years. That's one of the things I think we've noticed. We get a lot of high scores or low scores in your case. You know, and actually Zach and I were talking about this before, because you guys lost a couple of really, really good runners off last year's team. I mean, last year's team was really, really talented and very, very deep. But you lose a Michael Butterfield, who was the conference champ, and then you lose David Collins. I mean, these are guys that were big-time contributors. And what Zach was telling me is that the team hasn't missed as much of a beat as you might think, because there has been that depth, and the guys have been coming to work every day. You know, obviously, you know, some of your top runners also returned from that team last year, but that's part of that, being able to kind of establish that balance between classes, right? Making sure that, okay, the names may change, but our level stays pretty much the same, because the guys know what's expected of them and what's, you know, and it's also happened on the women's side, for that matter. You can see with the women, you know, I mean, you know, 3 top finishers last year of the top 5, or was it? I think it was 3, wasn't it? Was it 3 the top 5?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, you know, both teams now are starting to get that little bit of depth, you know, that depth where you can, the names may change, but the performances are staying remarkably the same. And that's how you build any successful college program, really, is that the names may change, but we're always right where we want to be, you know, by the end. And it sounds like that's pretty much, you know, you guys are right on course for that, especially with the championships coming up in a couple weeks here.
Yeah, I mean, that's the hope. I mean, I think the difference right now is with the women, you know, this year, from last year to this year, we had depth in the women's side and not as much on the men's side. This year we got more depth on the men's side and less on the women's side. And to that point, we're a little fragile on the women's side. And this is, you know, the bummer for us is that it sounds like we may not have Hallie for the rest of the year due to some injury, which is a killer. Because we you know, obviously we love her to death,
Right. Yeah.
but to lose her from a performance standpoint will be something we'll have to factor for. But obviously our runners, our gals have all kind of stepped up to try to help, you know, ease that load a little bit. So, you know, it will look different. But I'm hopeful that our girls are ready for that challenge to be able to kind of handle that.
Right. And I know that Simone has really stepped into.
Oh,
and
for
had
sure.
some
Yeah.
tremendous runs. I mean, she was on the squad last year.
Well,
didn't run,
actually,
and then,
actually, no. She had an injury last year that kind of kept her out.
Right. Yeah.
Which, you know, you kind of look at it that her and Hallie kind of flipped, you know, opportunities this year for better or worse. Which, you know, I never want anybody to ever get injured, but
Right. Yeah.
heck of a pair to have to choose from. I mean, they're both super, just wonderful people and just great athletes. And so yeah, we've got good people, good personalities, good talent.
Well, I certainly noticed Simone last year during the track and field championships because she
Yeah.
just has that look about her.
Yeah.
You know, like you and Zach and I were talking about this before we went
it.
on the air. She has that look about being a special level runner if she continues to improve. And I know you would have liked to have had her last year, you know, but you know, good things come to those who wait. You know, it's a bummer, like you said, for Hallie, because Hallie has been an outstanding runner for you guys for several years, and you know, knowing Mike, you know, knowing the family, that's a bummer.
And I want to talk about that for a second too. And I told her this, and I will tell anybody who listens to me. You know, I mean, right now I give her a lot of credit for where our women's team is. If it wouldn't be for her commitment to wanting to be the best that she can be, I don't think a lot of our girls would be where they're at right now. And so if we can continue along the path that we're going, from a just a talent standpoint and the effort standpoint and the kind of work that the girls put in, I'll always point back to her of this is where it started. And I've told her that. And but I mean it. I mean, she really kind of changed the idea of what that commitment to that sport is, and it's showing the rest of the girls a path. There's a physiological change from high school to college that they need to, just females need to overcome. And at some point you got to decide, is it, I want to do this, or am I just going to kind of just do this?
Right.
And
Yep.
she bought in hard because she basically didn't want to be, where she was. She wanted to be at an elite level, and she proved every second of it. So it's been awesome watching her progress. Obviously, it's painful to see her lose this opportunity, but we know there's more in her future anyway, whether it's indoor, outdoor, or beyond. But she will be somebody I'll always point back to as this is where it started. And Hallie, we love you. So there you go.
Well, I remember we talked about that last year, too, because she kind of last summer was sort of when that decision was made that, okay, I'm really diving into this.
Mm-hmm.
And she took teammates with her.
Mm-hmm.
And it might even have been on the show last year where, we talked about Cora probably doesn't win the UMAC if it wasn't for the work that Hallie kind of made her put in.
Yeah.
And is that fair?
Well, yeah, between those efforts, just in a training sense, but then even from a strategy point from that meet itself, Hallie dictated that whole race, and she took everybody else with her, and that allowed Cora to kind of have the opportunity to have what she did. So, there's no getting around that. Hallie was the one who made that race happen. So Cora got a really good opportunity out of that too. And not saying that Cora didn't earn that, because she earned every bit of it.
Yep.
Because she worked her butt off too. So she was just in a really good position to take an opportunity when it opened.
Well, that's good. Also, chemistry between teammates.
Oh, for
When
sure.
Hallie starts out, Cora's going to run with her because Hallie's going to set a good pace.
Yeah.
And give you the best chance to win.
Yeah.
And then at the end, sometimes it doesn't work. I know Hallie really wanted to win conference. She came in third, which was fine. Yeah. But Hallie and I, Glenn, I credit to you for telling me this too, because I remember I talked to you about that. I think the following week, and you said, I felt kind of a little bit bad for Hallie because, she probably feels like she should have won the conference because she really dictated the pace. And she was the one that started out. Cora ran with her. And they stayed together throughout the race, basically, until the very end when they got a little bit of separation. That's Hallie gets a lot. She gets a major assist on Cora winning the UMAC.
Yeah,
that's what I would say.
Alley-oop.
Just a little alley-oop. Hallie, basically got the steal, lobbed it up, and then Cora dunked it. It was sort of with the way that would have worked in the basketball analogy.
I think a lot of credit should go to like those three upperclassmen girls for really pulling along the and making that culture for the girls team. The Taya, Cora, Hallie combo. Kind of like from my perspective, I got to watch it happen. Like because I was in that position where I got to see the change in Hallie, Cora, and Taya, and then they just evolved into amazing distance runners over my 4 years here. So,
well, kind of the same way that for you. I mean, you had Michael and you had David and you had a really strong crew there as well. I mean, guys, including yourself. You guys almost posted a perfect score last year in the UMAX. I mean, I don't know when the last time that happened was, but I mean, it's as close as you could get to having the 5 best runners in the conference on one team.
Right.
So that is the same thing. I think Glenn was talking about you need 1 or 2 leaders that are going to pull up the group and say, this is how we're going to run. This is the pace we're going to run. And, come along with us. Right. But in order to come along with us, you have to make sacrifices to do that. It sounds like both teams are pretty strong again, actually, for the most part this year.
I hope so.
In a couple weeks, you're going to down to Rock Island, which is a traditional stop for you and your teams. And that's a massive meet.
Yeah.
Teams, competitors. I mean,
it's interregional, which means that they come from everywhere.
They're from everywhere. So going into that, what do you use that as a gauge of how you stack up, or is that this is the quality you're going to see going forward, or is it a little bit of both?
It's kind of a mini national meet mid-season, which is cool because we're seeing people from coast to coast. So we're competing against some amazingly talented teams. Even there's 8, 9s, and 10s are still going to be better than a lot of ours at times. But that just makes us, have to earn something better. It's a fast course. We're running some fast times. We'll give them a little bit of a kind of a, I don't want to call it a taper because it's not a taper, but we'll kind of plateau a little bit just to give them a little bit of fresh legs going into this so they can start to feel what that might feel like. Because we still hit them a little harder that following week, but this is where they get to find out where they're at individually, from a race strategy sense, from a speed tolerance sense, how long they can maintain what they want to do, because this is, there's not a lot of hills there, which allows them to just run fast, and now we get to find out what we're made of. Mostly, they all come through. I can almost guarantee that they usually come through with PRs, as a team, as a whole. So it's fun watching them really kind of shed it all off and just go. Mm-hmm. And then we okay, now we kind of have an idea of where we got to adjust if we do on anything. So we go into conference, we're ready to go.
Is it hard not to get wrapped up in it? Because there are so many people there, and there's some very elite runners there. Yeah. So is it hard not to get wrapped up into it?
Yes and no. It kind of depends on the type of runner you are. Like, I remember the first time I ran there, I started like third to last, but I caught a bunch of people on then just because so many people did get caught up in the mosh pit.
Mm-hmm. Love it.
Yeah. But like last year, for example, like when I'm kind of in the middle of that pack,
I like mosh pit better than pack.
the mosh pit.
The mass of humanity.
It's almost nice to have those people carrying you up, because it just helps when you have a bunch of people around to run a race. It's so much easier when like you're surrounded, because it kind of forces you to go fast. But I like that course a lot because it's kind of like the beginning of the end for us. Like, we can kind of, like Glenn said, see where we're all at. Like, I'm gonna test some things out that weekend, like trying to run a pace I haven't ran before just to see if I can do it, know. And that's really nice to be able to get to do that on a flat course before conference, just to kind of see where our fitness levels are going into that, so we all know what to expect. Kind
of use it as almost like a preview in a way of what we're gonna shoot for at conference. That's sort of sounds like that's kind of like the overall approach going in, especially when you've got that many runners from that many schools coming in, both on the men and the women's side. It's there's going to be a lot of runners there, obviously, and I think that's what an interregional pretty much does for you. It kind of shows you where you stack up. It's more of a chance to just kind of see where we at before we go into our respective conference meets, and that's what it sounds like. The guys and probably the girls are thinking, going into something like that, because I don't know how many teams are there. I mean, I think you and I talked about last year. It was like 25 to 30.
Oh, there's more than that.
Yeah,
and I don't remember what they had. They sent out a list last week, and I forgot the number. It's excessive.
Massive. Yeah. It's a big number,
but it's good. It's a good, like I said, and for these guys who don't get to see some of these teams unless you go to nationals, and I would say mostly we don't all go to nationals, but to see some of these teams that would never see except there. Pretty cool,
Yeah.
Instead of we go to some of the meets we go around here, and they're good meets, by the way. I mean, we've had this discussion before, but the Upper Midwest is just deep in talent across the board. All divisions don't matter, but to be able to see some of these other teams come in and compete, and that's partly why they're coming, is because it is so good around the Midwest, and it's easy to find out how good you really are. So, the top teams might be from out west or out east, but they still got to fight these Midwestern teams to do it. So, but it's fun to see them compete against some of these teams that they don't usually see. So, good stuff.
It's the last, I guess, test before conference, and your teams clearly have the bullseye on them now this year, because coming in as the defending champion on both sides. How do they handle that pressure? How do you handle that pressure? Probably a better question for you. How do you handle that?
Yeah.
I feel like this year I have the most pressure because we're on a win streak. Since I've been here, we haven't lost. I kind of don't think about it. I think I kind of trust in my training, trust in what we can do as a team. It's easier when you can compare yourself to other teams throughout the year and kind of see where we stack up a little bit. There has been a year, or maybe it was 2 years ago, where it was a tiebreaker win. That was a big eye opener for our team, because it's something that we kind of thought we're like, oh, this is going to be easy. Like, we're going to win. And it was the closest it's ever been. So I think that's kind of where we started our transition from, like, not caring as much to, like, being like, okay, we got to really focus on this meet right here. Just, like, there's things we have to do to stay focused throughout the year, just, like, talking about it, talking about strategies, talking about where other runners are, where we can expect them to be in the race. There's a lot of parts, but, yeah.
How much do you talk about that strategy even leading up to the event? Are you still talking about it when you're there? Are you still talking about it when you're in your huddle? Are you still talking about it when you're standing waiting for the gun?
No.
Well, when does it, okay, we're just going to put that to bed and do what we need to do?
I think that ends when we cross the line. Like
talking about it on the course still. All right.
Like last year, me and Aiden ran together 99% of the race, and up till a mile. Like up till like 4.5 miles, me and him were talking, like being like, all right, this is it now, we got to go. So I guess it kind of doesn't end, you know, until you finish and you can give some hugs out and stuff.
Yeah, and I think the lesson we learned from a couple of years ago was we didn't talk about it, you know, and we basically just kind of let them, you know, kind of go along their paths with some of the mindset stuff and just kind of let them go. And they walked off the bus that day, you know, deer in headlights. They did not look like my team. They looked scared. And they were. And it showed. And that was a wake-up call to us, too, to say, no, we got to figure out how to better discuss what's expected, who we are, why we're doing what we're doing, how we're going to do what we're going to do, which is more, it's more, like I said, deliberate now. Within workouts, within, you know, season discussions, whatever it might be, there's a lot more discussions on who we are as a team, as runners, as individuals, whatever it might be.
Now, I remember it's interesting to listen to Zach kind of reflect on that one, because Glenn, you and I and John, we got a chance to talk about that particular race last year, I think you said, and it was kind of a polar opposite of what we expected. And I kind of let them do their own thing, and then that year came up, we still won, but it was very tight, and we were tight, you know, going in. And then last year, you guys just cut it loose and really dominated the race, basically from the start.
Right.
Yeah.
And so it does seem like whatever lessons were taken from the year before were definitely learned. I'm guessing, Zach, you felt the same way, because you guys were very dominant last year in that race.
Yeah, no, definitely. It's just, like I said, it was just like an eye-opening experience where, like, we are going to win this race, and then we, like, are so close to losing it that, like, it kind of, like, it scares you. Like, I agree with Glenn. We were definitely probably scared. We're like, what the heck happened here? Like,
Yeah.
But I think it kind of, that happening made us such a stronger team, because I think we were able to reflect on that and like figure out what we needed to do to, like, never let that happen again. Because that's kind of the mentality we had after that race. We were like, we can't let it ever be that close ever again.
Yeah, and you guys certainly did take care of business the following year.
Yeah, we're going to destroy the field now.
Yeah, exactly. Like, we're going to win this so well that it's not even going to be a question. Like, you know, like, we're going to win so well this year that we're going to almost put that one to bed completely.
Yeah.
And that was what you guys did last year. And, you know, but the target is on your back for the rest of the league, which is not an easy place to be, just because everyone views you guys as a measuring stick. So every time you guys end up running against another conference opponent, regardless of what race it's in, there's a measuring stick component to that to see where do we stand next to UWS, you know, and so.
Yeah, and to that point, it's not getting any easier. They're continuing to, they're coming, every one of them, and it's good. It's good for all of us. Just watching the other teams, the other coaching staffs, the other athletes develop. They're doing the right things, and it's good for all of us. We're excited for them because it makes it for fun. You know, competition is great for everybody.
One, it raises the level of everybody.
Yeah, yeah, and like I said, getting to know some of these. We've got a few newer coaches in the conference now, and some of the brief conversations I've had with them. The conversation haven't been about strategy or talent or training style. It's been about culture, and that's been impressive to me because that's where it starts for us. And it makes me smile, honestly, that they are doing those kind of things, because it's building towards the right kind of team, you know. So I'm excited for them all because we're going to have some battles here in the very near future. It's going to be good.
You traditionally will schedule 1 week on, 1 week off.
Mm-hmm.
So you're going to go down to Rock Island, then you have that week, and then you have your conference championship. What does that middle week look like?
Yeah, so that that week after the competition, whatever that is, that's usually a harder week for us. So we're kind of building up, doing a lot of work, whether it's hill work, whether it's running at pace on a 1K 2K type course. We're training pretty hard through that week, maybe even into a couple of days into the meet week. Obviously, going into conference though, we'll taper considerably. In fact, we typically have on that off, quote unquote off week, we'll have a Friday morning workout on a track just to get one done, so we can kind of cut the kids loose for a weekend. That weekend before conference, we may do very little or nothing at all, potentially, depending on where we're at coming out of Rock Island. So yeah, it's a work week, and that's why they know, like going into this Rock Island meet, that there's still work to be done. Mm-hmm. As much as we all want to see that thing start to taper off, we know we still got to keep building it, really. So we'll see, kind of like I said, the results will kind of tell us which direction we're going to take it from there. But historically speaking, those are weeks where we're working pretty hard.
When it's all said and done, abandoning cross country for a minute, how much of a break do you take between the end of cross country season and the indoor season? And it's fair to say I come to practice on Monday.
I guess it depends on the person. Me personally, very little. I think maybe about a week of cross training, if even that. Maybe like I cross train every other day. It depends on what type of runner you are, and I think how advanced you are in the sport. Like for me, since I've been doing it for so long, I can kind of just keep going just because I have a solid base. But like for a freshman, I'm going to recommend to them they take some time off, because it's definitely much needed, because something I guess we haven't talked about, but we have a really long season in particular for cross country. We're in season fall to spring, so it's a lot of running, a lot of miles for the distance people, like holding 70 mile a week for an entire year.
Right.
It's a hard thing to do.
It's nonstop.
We maybe get 4 weeks off total, like almost entire year, because summer is our most important part of the year, where we have to base train even more than we do in the school year. So not much time.
Yeah, and to his point, I mean, I agree. I think it's individually based, and we typically try to take care of those freshmen, because we know this is their first time diving this deep into the pool. The other piece too, I mean, yeah, the miles are a weight on them, but honestly, to have to be switched on from late August through May, mentally, that's really hard, because it's not just running. You got to be engaged and be able to maintain some of the things that they're doing. That mental stress alone could bury them. You know? So they do need, like, a lot of them. If we haven't decided that they're going to run that December meet, for instance, we'll tell them, all right, you're done. I don't want to see you for 2 weeks. If you want to come by just to say hello, be great, but get the heck out of here, because you need the break. You need to shut it off for a little bit. And some of them just need it because you can tell already they're borderline going to go downhill, and like, no, we're done with you for now. Just relax, take some time off, enjoy being a student for a little while, just be a person for a while. Forget being a runner at all, even though they don't. They'll still tend to run.
I get it.
So yeah,
I get it.
The mental side, I feel like, of our sport might be the hardest part. Like just there's a lot of burnout. Like especially for the distance runners that are doing it all year. It's hard also just to be around your teammates all year round, because we pick on each other. Stuff happens, but like.
You said you're family.
Right. Yeah. Families fight.
We get on each other's nerves.
That's what I tell them all the time. Like brothers and sisters fight. We get over it though, because we're still family. But like that's a really hard part of it too. Like just finding the balance with our lives and our sports at the same time.
The mental piece,
it's a lot of it is mental.
Yeah.
Like I mean, we've talked about this I think each time we've had Glenn on is
Right.
the mental approach that you have to take. You know, I mean, we had Tyler Finger one time told me pretty much that, look, it's going to hurt. You just have to accept it's going to hurt. And then there's going to be times during the race where it's just going to flat out suck.
Yeah.
Yep.
But you have to kind of buck up and get through it. And then, you know, he said, but, you know, that's where the mental toughness part of it comes in, is that because you can tell when a runner is starting to labor. You know, I mean, you can see it in their face. It's not feeling very good right now. But when you do that and you've got other people around you doing it, it sort of, you know, makes it more of a community kind of effort than just, you know, Zach saying, well, okay, I'm feeling pretty poor here, but the rest of my teammates are going, so I better, you know, I need to, you know, hang with the rest of the family, hang with the fam a little bit here. You know, it's sort of, it's a big mental component. I mean, I think that probably that's one of the things I've learned, and I've harped on this before, and I've talked about this before, and John, you and I both have had this experience. Watching marathon runners is very much a similar thing. They're doing it over a longer distance, but it's the same idea.
Yeah.
You know, that there's a mental toughness that really is just as much of a physical as, you know, toughness that comes along with it. And
Right.
those two have to come into synchronous at a certain point in order to get to meet your objectives. You know, and that sounds a little scientific, but that's really what it comes down to.
Right.
You
No,
know?
I think you're exactly right. I'm watching the clock here because I know you are in season, and there's practice time that is going to be coming up here. So I think we'll go ahead and cut it here. Do you have any final thoughts for us?
I do not. I've you know,
What?
Well, I mean, I think we've gone
Fine,
over
Zach.
everything.
Do you have any final thoughts for
Well,
us?
no. I mean, other than good luck at the interregional, good luck at the UMAX. I mean, you know, expectations have always been high for the cross country team, and now that the women are also a conference champion, I think we've gotten to this point now where, you know, again, there's that target on the back, but
That's the standard now.
yeah, that's the standard. I mean, and thankfully, we've got a lot of teams on this campus that have that standard at the moment. So, just more of the same, and certainly the best of luck to both of you. And
Thank you.
I know that, like I said, the ultimate target is the UMAC championships in a few weeks here. So,
Appreciate it. Thank you.
yeah. So, you know, 6 for 6 last year. This guy.
I know.
I told him that I said that to him last year, and
I almost bought
his
him a
eyes
broom.
just did what he did right there too. He was like, I
I
walked
usually
his
buy him a
office,
donut when he wins a conference championship. Now I feel like I should buy him a broom.
His eyes got big when I said that to him last year too, especially up the outdoor. I said, "Congratulations, 6 for 6," and he gave me that look like. I'm not quite sure what to say, but I mean, obviously you guys have got a good culture thing going. Otherwise, that doesn't happen. So
Well, we got good culture, we got good coaches, and we got good athletes, and you know sometimes that's all you can ask. Well, we got good support too. I mean, between our sports information people, obviously, and in our administration, man, you give us all the tools we need to do what we do. So it's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
those are my final thoughts.
Those
I
are
guess
good.
for somebody who didn't have very many
Yeah,
final
you had
thoughts,
quite a
I guess
few
I had
there
quite
all
a
of a
few there
sudden.
actually. All right.
And that'll do it for this episode of Eye of the Swarm. We want to thank head coach Glen Drexler and Zach Reese from the men's cross country team for stopping by. For Glenn and Zach, for the Big Sound Matt Johnson, I am John Garver, and this has been Eye of the Swarm.